My name is Corny, and I love to tell jokes. Me and my buddies were at dinner last week. We're talking about different things that guys talk about, but then we began to talk about some of the good things and bad things about marriage. As we were having this discussion, this older man came over and interrupted us and proudly told us that next week he and his wife would be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Now, I was impressed because it doesn't seem like marriages these days last that long, and I told him this was great. What's your secret? He told me, well, you have to do nice things for your wife. I was like, okay. Well, that could mean a lot of things. So I put him to the test and asked him to give me an example because I really wanted to know. He said, well, for our 25th anniversary, I took her to Italy. I said, wow, that's amazing. I was thinking, no wonder this man had such a great marriage. Me being nosy, I had to know how he would top this. So I asked him, what are you going to do for your 50th? He looked me straight in the face and said, I'm going back to visit her. Now I'll say this, I do like to do nice things for my wife. For example, the other day I decided to vacuum the entire house as a surprise. I put in my earbuds and turned up the music really loud to my favorite jam, and I began to vacuum like a madman. It took me about 20 minutes, but I had sweat pouring off of me. I was working so hard. And then I took out my earbuds and realized I'd been running the vacuum around for the last 20 minutes with it being unplugged. I was too tired to do it again, and I don't think my wife bought my story whenever she got home. I have a friend that's a nurse. She tells me some strange things that happen at the doctor's office. She was telling me about how there was this one man in the waiting room who was claiming he was invisible. I mean, can you imagine saying he's invisible? Well, she goes and tells the doctor this, and he tells her to go tell him that he can't see him today. Talking about doctors, I visited mine the other day for my yearly checkup, and it didn't go too well because my blood pressure was up and my cholesterol was high, and I'd gained some weight. My doctor knows me pretty well, knows I'm not really that smart, so he tried to come up with an easy way to help me to improve my health. He told me I needed to start filling my plate with bright colors such as yellow, red, and green. I think that was the best advice I've ever received from a doctor, and it was the easiest diet I have ever been on. As soon as I got back home, I opened up a big bag of M&Ms and poured them on my plate. I have so much more energy now. That doctor deserves a raise. I was at Walmart the other day after Easter when I ran into my old friend. He looked great, and I asked him what he'd been doing. He told me that he'd been on a keto diet for the last 6 months and was training to run a half marathon. And he was talking about how he just felt so great. Well, I didn't want to be outdone, so I told him how great I felt that day as well because I just bought $40 worth of Easter candy for $6. He didn't seem very impressed, even after I told him the great diet my doctor had put me on. When you get older, you have to change the way you think in order to stay positive. For example, the other day I fell down the stairs. Instead of getting upset or embarrassed about it, I just brag about how that's the fastest I've moved in years. Also, when you get older, you tend to become a bit nosier. Well, I was finally cured of that last month. I was walking down the sidewalk by this mental hospital, and they had this really tall wood fence that went all the way around it. And all I could hear was a bunch of the mental patients out there saying 13, 13, 13. Well, me being nosy, I decided to see if I could look in and find out what was going on. So I found a hole in the fence, and I went to peek in, and just as I got my eye up to the hole, all of a sudden I got my eye poked with a finger. And as I was holding my eye in pain, all of a sudden all these mental patients started saying 14, 14, 14. I've minded my own business ever since then.